Fade, the battle within. Break free or fade away. What if the biggest threat to your future isn't failure, but the outdated version of you that you keep shielding? Staying in your comfort zone might feel safe, but it's a silent, slow decay. Every excuse you make, every distraction you indulge in, every pattern you ignore, it's a chain. And those chains, they don't break themselves. You're either evolving or quietly dissolving into a life that never reaches its full potential. Let go of fallback plans. Let go of who you used to be. Build version after version of your future self, without apology, without pause. Time isn't waiting, and neither should you. In just a moment, I'll show you how to force growth, how to break the cycle of old habits and become someone you no longer recognize in the best possible way. The moment of awakening. There comes a time when pretending doesn't work anymore. When you realize the painful truth, staying the same is a decision. It's not fate, it's not your parents, it's not the economy, it's not your past, it's you. We cling to what's familiar, routines, roles, even struggles, because they're predictable. But predictability isn't peace, it's paralysis. Comfort can lull you into mediocrity, and that is not where your story ends, unless you let it. You were meant to move, to grow, to transform. But growth never comes without discomfort. It demands sacrifice, your time, your ego, your false sense of security. Ask yourself, are you trading the possibility of greatness for the illusion of safety? Brutal self-honesty, the mirror never lies. At some point, real transformation demands something most people avoid: standing naked in front of the internal mirror. No lies, no filters, no pretending things are fine. You are not stuck because of someone else. You are stuck because, on some level, staying stuck feels safer than facing your fears. Ask the hard questions. Where am I lying to myself? What patterns do I keep repeating? What excuses have I grown comfortable with? These are not just bad habits. They are prisons you've built with your own hands. You cannot grow while clinging to the version of you that fears change. The voice in your head that says, "I'll start tomorrow," is not your friend. It's the voice of delay, of regret, of wasted time. Look in the mirror, not to punish yourself, but to own your story. You may not be responsible for every scar, but you are responsible for the next chapter. The prison of familiarity. The human mind is addicted to what it knows, even if it's killing you slowly. Jobs that drain you, relationships that stunt you, routines that keep you small. Why stay? Because your brain tells you it's familiar, it's safe. But safe doesn't mean right. We wear our limitations like armor. I'm just not that kind of person. I've always been like this. That's just who I am. These aren't truths. They're repeated lies that feel real because they're old. Growth demands you let go of the version of yourself you've outgrown, the one built for survival, not success. You must step into discomfort because it's the only road that leads out of the prison of the known. The question is simple. Will you choose comfort or will you choose freedom? Declare war on the old you. There comes a moment when personal development isn't inspirational, it's war. It's a full-on rebellion against procrastination, excuses, fear disguised as logic, and comfort dressed up as peace. Growth isn't pretty. It's not always gentle. It rips the lies off your back and throws cold truth in your face. You cannot evolve by accident. You have to kill the version of you that settles. The one who says, "Just one more day. I'll try again next month. Maybe I'm not meant for more." That person has to go. You won't get help from a quote or a friend. No one can fight this battle but you. It's your responsibility. It's your power. Every morning you face a choice. Defend the identity that's held you back, or fight for the one that sets you free. This fight isn't about being perfect. It's about refusing to waste another second living beneath your potential. So, what will it be? Comfort or courage? Excuses or evolution? Familiar pain or unfamiliar greatness? Your future self is waiting, but not forever. The old you is out of time. There is no future left for the old version of you, the one built on fear, hesitation, and excuses. That version is running out of breath. Its time is done. The moment you say, "I've had enough," is the moment your real future begins. Your future self isn't some far-off dream. It's a real, breathing version of you, standing just ahead, watching, waiting, depending on the decisions you make right now. That version of you is calling for a fighter, not someone who surrenders to fear, not someone who hides in comfort. This isn't a single moment of bravery. It's a battle you choose every day. Some days you'll mount a mountain. Other days you'll barely inch forward. But what matters is that you keep going. The war is won by those who don't put their swords down just because the journey gets heavy. Growth doesn't happen to the passive. It comes to those who demand it, who claw it into existence, who are relentless in their refusal to stay small. Block the lie of the comfort zone. The comfort zone is the master illusionist. It sells itself as peace and safety, but look closer. It's a prison. It's soft on the outside, but suffocating at the core. Its bars are built from predictable routines, daily distractions, and the hypnotic whisper of, "This is good enough." You don't notice the trap at first. It shows up as the familiar. Same people, same choices, same beliefs. But eventually, it costs you something precious, your growth. True transformation doesn't live within comfort. It begins the moment you walk into discomfort, eyes wide open. Discomfort isn't danger. It's a sign, a message. It means you're stretching. You're expanding into a space where your current self doesn't fit anymore. You don't become extraordinary by waiting for discomfort to go away. You rise by walking through it, again and again. Fire, discomfort is not the enemy. It's the evidence. Every breakthrough, every new chapter, every reinvention starts in discomfort. Think of any time you truly leveled up. Was it easy? Was it peaceful? No, it was messy, emotional, uncertain. Discomfort is the receipt you show when you've paid the price for growth. The ache in your muscles, the silence after letting go of toxic people, the self-doubt as you take a leap no one understands. That's the cost, and it's always worth it.
But here's the trap. People chase ease. They work hard hoping that one day they'll earn the right to be comfortable again. But real growth? It doesn't end with comfort. It starts when you leave it behind. Every comfort zone you escape gives way to a bigger one. And the edge of that new zone is where your next level lives. Burn the escape routes. You'll never build your future with one foot in the past. Most people leave tiny exits open in their minds. If this fails, I'll just go back. If it's too hard, I'll quit. These back doors are silent killers. The moment pressure hits, your brain remembers the exit and takes it. You'll say you're committed, you'll say you're serious, but your actions will expose the truth. You can't become someone new while keeping the old life on standby. The universe doesn't reward the halfway committed. Transformation is all in or nothing. You don't get to tiptoe into change, you ignite it. You don't flirt with potential, you fight for it. Burn the bridge to the old you. Burn Plan B, and don't look back. Reinvent or remain the same. Life doesn't ask for permission before it changes. It moves, it evolves, and it expects you to do the same. Reinvention isn't a motivational slogan, it's a survival skill. If you don't let go of outdated identities, they will sink you. The version of you that once protected you will become the very weight that holds you down. You've worn these masks for so long. I'm just not good at this. That's just the way I am. That they feel like truth, but they're not truth. They're habits formed in survival, not growth. Reinvention begins the moment you stop arguing for your limitations. When you accept that yesterday's version of you has no authority over tomorrow's destiny. Growth doesn't come from dragging your past into your future. It comes from burying it. Destroy your patterns before they destroy you. Your current life is the sum of your daily decisions, your routines, your automatic reactions, your unconscious beliefs. You're not what you wish for. You are what you repeatedly do. Patterns are like silent architects. They shape your identity in the background, and most of them installed years ago. Never updated, never questioned. They're running your life on autopilot. It starts with brutal awareness. Where are your habits betraying your goals? Where are you choosing ease over effort? Don't negotiate with old patterns. Don't justify them, annihilate them. Replace them with intentional actions that align with the person you want to become. One small shift, repeated endlessly, rewires your brain. And every time you override the old system, you're laying the foundation for a new identity. Discipline is the ultimate self-respect. Discipline has nothing to do with suffering. It's not punishment. It's self-respect in action. It's the decision to do what you said you'd do long after the mood has passed. Motivation is a fair-weather friend. It shows up when you're excited and disappears when you're tired. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't care how you feel. It only asks one thing: will you show up anyway? You don't become powerful by waiting to feel inspired. You become powerful by training yourself to do hard things, daily, consistently, ruthlessly. That's how professionals operate. They don't rely on mood, they rely on commitment. Stop. No more excuses, no more delays, no more waiting. You are not stuck, you are repeating. But today, you can interrupt that cycle. You can rise. You can rebuild. You can recode yourself, habit by habit, choice by choice. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of your excuses. A version who doesn't flinch, who doesn't retreat, who shows up when it's hard. That version is not a dream. It's a decision, and you can make it today. The bridge between who you are and who you want to be. True discipline is not loud. It doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't post updates for likes or applause. It exists quietly in the shadows, where no one watches, where it really counts. Discipline is the silent bridge that connects your goals to your results. It links your potential to your reality. It's not just about grit, it's about alignment. A deep alignment with the person you're striving to become. Each day you choose the hard right over the easy wrong. You make a deposit in the future you're building. Discipline is not self-punishment, it is self-respect. It's not about denying yourself joy. It's about choosing purpose over fleeting pleasure. It's the evidence that your goals matter to you, that you matter to you. Here's the paradox. The more disciplined you are, the more freedom you gain. Freedom from the guilt of broken promises. Freedom from the burden of regret. Freedom from the chaos of inconsistency. And that freedom, it builds confidence. Because when you keep showing up for yourself, you start to believe you can. Amateurs wait for inspiration. Professionals move despite resistance. If you want real change, stop worshiping motivation. Replace it with unshakable, ruthless self-discipline. Pain, the teacher you keep avoiding. Pain never knocks politely. It crashes into your life in the form of failure, heartbreak, rejection, and disappointment. Most run from it, numb it, or bury it beneath distractions. But pain isn't your enemy, it's your greatest teacher. Growth is always paired with pain. The breakdown of old identities, the construction of new ones, the stretch between who you were and who you're becoming. It's friction. And that pain hurts. But that pain is proof you're alive, that something within you is shifting. You waste your pain when you treat it like a curse. It's not. It's data. It reveals what no longer fits in your life. It highlights the beliefs, behaviors, and environments that are incompatible with your future. Instead of asking, "Why me?" start asking, "What is this trying to show me?" Pain exposes your excuses, your blind spots, your self-deception. But when you stop treating it as punishment and start using it as fuel, everything changes. That ache in your chest, it means you care. That pit in your stomach, it means a better version of you is fighting to break through. The most powerful people aren't those who avoid pain. They're the ones who transform through it. Pain is not the end of the road. It's the beginning of a new one. Feed your strength or feed your weakness. Every moment is a vote. You're either voting for the future you want or the past you're stuck in. Every indulgence in distraction, every skipped workout, every procrastinated task is a meal you're feeding your weaknesses. Weakness doesn't announce itself. It shows up as comfort, as logic, as "I deserve a break." But it's not rest. It's avoidance dressed as reason. And every time you feed it, it grows stronger. You cannot reason with weakness. You cannot befriend it. You have to starve it, ruthlessly. That means choosing what strengthens you, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Starvation is where transformation begins. As your old self grows weaker, your new self begins to emerge. The one built on hunger, focus, and discipline. The war between comfort and freedom is fought every day. You win by refusing to feed the enemy. Silence the noise. The world is a storm of distractions, endless notifications, unsolicited opinions, social pressure, and mental clutter. If you don't learn to kill the noise, it will kill your focus. The opinions of others, the doubt of your inner circle, the scroll of social media, they dilute your clarity. Slowly, they rewrite your vision until you can't remember what you wanted in the first place. You must kill the noise. Not lower it, not mute it, eliminate it. Reclaim your focus like your life depends on it, because it does. Minimalism of the mind is power. Ask yourself daily, does this input make me stronger? If not, it goes. Your mind is sacred ground. Treat it like your greatest asset, because it is. In the silence, something sacred emerges, you. Your real voice, your true priorities, your deepest strength. And when that voice is clear, you're unstoppable. Master the weapon of focus.
Focus isn't a talent, it's a weapon, and like any weapon, it must be forged. We live in a world that profits from your distraction. Every app, every headline, every ping fights to fracture your attention. Most people lose that fight every day and don't even know it. Focus isn't just about being productive, it's about survival. It's about building something that matters in a world that encourages you to chase everything and finish nothing. Ruthless focus begins with one decision: I will not live like this. From that moment on, you begin cutting what doesn't matter, sharpening what does, training your mind to lock in and stay locked in. Discomfort is part of the training, but each time you resist the twitch to check, to scroll, to flee, you get stronger. And eventually, what once felt impossible becomes effortless. Focus isn't a hack, it's a lifestyle, and those who build it, they win, every time. Identity shifts, the root of all change. Change doesn't start with behavior, it starts with identity. You can read every book, set every goal, follow every hack, but if deep down you still see yourself as unworthy, undisciplined, or stuck, you will sabotage every step forward. Transformation begins the moment you choose to believe in a different version of yourself. You don't wait until you're successful to start acting like a winner. You act like one now. The results follow the identity, not the other way around. Ask yourself daily, what would the future version of me do right now? Then do that, repeatedly, until it becomes second nature. You're not bound by your past. You're bound by the story you keep telling yourself. Change the story. Change everything. Rewire your mind every day. Your brain is not set in stone. It is software, alive, programmable, adaptable. If you don't write the code for your mind, the world will do it for you, and it will not program you for greatness. Your default programming comes from years of repetition, survival mechanisms, and external voices. It's outdated, it's corrupted, and it's running the show unless you interrupt it. You must update your mental software every single day, with new thoughts, with empowering beliefs, with a conscious decision to replace doubt with determination. Mental rewiring isn't a motivational hobby, it's a daily discipline. If your thoughts are outdated, your results will be too. So upgrade, rewrite, reprogram every single day. The discipline of mastery, reinvention, and relentless growth. Your mind is fragile, vulnerable, yet moldable. Like wet cement, it takes the shape of whatever impressions are pressed into it first thing in the morning. The thoughts you allow in during those early moments don't just influence your mood, they command the entire direction of your day. If you surrender those moments to randomness, distraction, or negativity, you allow external noise to hijack your mental operating system before the day even starts. But when you take control, when you intentionally feed your mind with vision, gratitude, clarity, and purpose, you shift from a reactive passenger to the architect of your own destiny. The most powerful people on this planet don't leave their mindset up to chance. They ritualize it. Their mornings are sacred, a sanctuary for mental training. Whether it's 5 minutes or 50, they create space to affirm who they are becoming, to see the future self clearly, and to load their internal system with thoughts of strength, focus, resilience, and intention. That time is the mental gym, where they build the strength required to face the chaos of life before it even arrives. And midday, it's not a break, it's a recalibration. The world pulls, distractions multiply, and pressure mounts. So they pause, breathe, reaffirm their trajectory, remember who they are, realign with why they started. In those moments, they take back control, again and again. Even at night, the ritual continues, because the last thoughts you entertain before sleep are like seeds dropped into your subconscious, deep, fertile, and powerful. Most people drift asleep consumed by worry, numbing themselves with noise, or replaying failures. But the elite, they end their day with vision, with gratitude, with purpose. They program the mind overnight so that while the world rests, their belief system is upgrading silently. This is not a one-time trick. It's a discipline, a way of life. It's mental conditioning. Just like muscles are forged in the gym, mindset is sculpted in silence, relentlessly, daily, intentionally. Because your mind listens, it absorbs, it reflects what you give it. Feed it hesitation and fear, and you'll live a life of hesitation and fear. But feed it clarity, discipline, and strength,
and it becomes a weapon so sharp that even chaos can't derail it. The default programming? Scarcity, doubt, old beliefs. But the upgrade is available, and it's hidden in your daily rituals, your smallest decisions, your stolen moments. Rewire constantly, because who you become is the result of the code you run daily. Reinvention is a cycle, not a destination. Growth is not linear, it's cyclical, messy, and uncomfortable. Most people mistakenly think that once they reach a certain milestone, money, success, mindset, they've arrived. But in reality, there is no arrival. There's only evolution. The habits, beliefs, and strategies that got you to one level often become the very thing holding you back from the next. What once was a strength becomes a cage. What once worked now limits you. Reinvention isn't optional, it's survival. It's the ability to recognize when parts of you must die in order for new parts to emerge. And yes, death hurts. Even the symbolic death of a habit or identity comes with grief. But the cost of holding on to the old is stagnation and eventually collapse. The ones who grow perpetually understand the rhythm. Kill, rebuild, upgrade, repeat. They aren't afraid to break themselves down, let go of what no longer serves them, and step into discomfort in order to rise stronger. This rhythm requires brutal honesty. It demands that you question everything. Does this version of me still serve where I'm going? Is this belief system built for my future or anchored in my past? Am I growing or just looping through comfort? True transformation requires solitude, clarity, space to reflect. Not every phase is about acceleration. Some seasons are for destruction, some for rebuilding, some for optimization. Learn to identify them, respect them, and move through them without apology. Failure is feedback, not identity. Setbacks aren't optional, they're inevitable. But most people don't know how to handle failure because they've been taught to tie it to self-worth. They think I failed means I am a failure. But that mindset is poison. Failure is not personal, it's mechanical, it's data. It's a system error, not a character flaw. Every failed attempt contains a lesson. What broke? Why didn't it work? How can I rebuild it better? But if you're drowning in shame or paralyzed by fear, you miss the feedback. Winners dissect failure like engineers study broken machines, detached, curious, focused on the fix. Society glorifies perfection but demonizes failure, and so people chase approval instead of growth. But the truth? All greatness is forged through mistakes. No one masters anything without failing more times than most people are willing to try. To become immune to setbacks, you must build emotional endurance, the ability to get hit, feel the pain, and keep moving. Not by avoiding the sting, but by absorbing the lesson and using it to evolve. Failure doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're in the arena, you're building, you're swinging, and that alone sets you apart from those who never even begin. Cut the dead weight, ruthlessly. You cannot rise while clinging to what's holding you down. People, habits, environments, even mindsets, everything in your orbit is either fueling your growth or draining your potential. There is no neutral. Everything influences everything. Some people were right for who you were, but not for who you're becoming. Some habits felt harmless, but are now anchors. And some environments used to feel like home, but now feel like cages. Growth demands an audit, a stripping down, a clear-eyed look at your world with one brutal question. Does this support where I'm going, or does it tie me to the past? You must be willing to release without guilt, to love from afar, to walk away from comfort disguised as loyalty, because staying small so others feel safe isn't kindness, it's self-betrayal. Let go of the late nights, the mental junk food, the excuses, the people who whisper, just stay here. Cut it all. And when you do, when you finally unburden yourself, everything accelerates. Your energy amplifies, your focus sharpens, your trajectory clears. You step into the version of yourself who was always waiting. Delayed gratification.
Mastery over perfection. Perfection is a seductive lie. It whispers that everything must be flawless before you begin, that you need clarity, validation, or the perfect plan. But perfection is fear in disguise. It's the mask that procrastination wears to feel noble. Mastery is different. It doesn't wait, it doesn't flinch, it doesn't need applause. Mastery is built in the daily grind, in the ugly drafts, the failed reps, the silent iterations. It asks, did I get better today? Did I move forward even 1 inch? Those who chase mastery may look imperfect, but their results become undeniable. Because while perfectionists are still editing, still hesitating, still waiting, those obsessed with mastery have already changed the game. Walk like you've already become it. Transformation doesn't begin with success, it begins with identity. You must walk, talk, and carry yourself as the person you're becoming before the world sees it. Most people wait for evidence before believing, but those who ascend believe first, and the world adjusts. Carry yourself like someone who's already there, not as a fantasy, but as a discipline. Move with intention, speak with clarity, act like the future version of you is watching, because it is. The universe doesn't respond to who you've been. It responds to who you decide to be right now. So stop waiting. Decide. Become now. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. The mind will resist. Your past will scream for relevance. It will remind you of every failure, every broken promise, every version of yourself that played small. It will whisper, who are you to act like you've already made it? That voice is the echo of an old identity fighting for survival. And that's when you lean in harder. You double down on becoming. Because the only way to silence that voice is through action. You start moving differently. You pay attention to how the highest version of you walks into a room. Shoulders back, head high, not in arrogance, but in certainty. You speak with clarity, not hesitation. You stop explaining yourself, stop shrinking, stop diluting your ambition to make others comfortable. You begin thinking in solutions, not problems. You stop asking, can I, and start asking, how will I? Every conversation becomes a reflection of the future, not the past. You speak like someone who has already solved the problem, already achieved the goal, already broken through. You move with the calm confidence of someone who knows their arrival is inevitable because they've already arrived internally. This doesn't mean pretending. This isn't about faking it. It's about aligning yourself with the future so aggressively that the gap between reality and vision gets smaller by the day. The actions aren't fake. The belief is real. You're not pretending to be someone you're not. You're stepping into the truest version of yourself, the version that fear, doubt, and procrastination have been hiding, and the world notices. Whether people consciously recognize it or not, they feel the shift. The energy becomes undeniable. You are no longer broadcasting the frequency of someone hoping, wishing, waiting. You are transmitting the energy of certainty, of inevitability, and that energy attracts. Not in a mystical, magical way, but in a practical, grounded way. People trust certainty. They gravitate toward clarity. Opportunities flow to those who seem like they're already prepared to hold them. This is why so many stay stuck in cycles of waiting, waiting to feel ready, waiting until the conditions are perfect, waiting until the fear disappears. But waiting is passive. Becoming is active. The moment you flip that switch, when you stop waiting for permission and start embodying who you've decided to become, the game changes. Everything from the way you handle your mornings to the way you make decisions shifts. You stop tolerating distractions because the highest version of you doesn't live in chaos. You stop entertaining doubt because the future you isn't driven by fear. You start setting boundaries not from defensiveness, but from clarity, because your energy is no longer available for anything that doesn't align. Even your language transforms. You stop saying things like, "I hope," or "I'm trying." You replace them with, "I will," "I am," "It's happening." Not because you're forcing confidence, but because you've chosen certainty over hesitation. You realize that the words you speak are not just reflections of your beliefs, they are instructions to your subconscious and signals to the world. This identity shift creates momentum, and momentum is everything. Momentum makes hard things feel lighter. It shrinks the distance between effort and result. When you begin living as if it's already done, your actions start catching up faster because they're no longer powered by doubt, but by alignment. And in this process, something deeper happens. You stop being surprised by your own success. You stop acting like an outsider looking in on the life you want. Instead, you start moving through the world like someone for whom success is the natural consequence of who they are. Not because you think you're special, not because of arrogance, but because you've simply decided that the identity of the person who wins is the one you wear now. This is what separates those who manifest change from those who dream about it. The ability to walk like you've already become it, even when the bank account doesn't show it yet, even when the scale hasn't shifted, even when the business hasn't exploded. Because waiting for the proof is the slowest way to get the proof. Living as if is the fastest accelerator there is. But be prepared. The old life won't like this version of you. People who knew the smaller version of you may become uncomfortable. They may say you've changed, and they'll be right. You have. You are no longer available for conversations that celebrate mediocrity. No longer participating in patterns that delay your evolution. No longer tolerating environments that disrespect your future. The solitude that comes with this shift is real. It's part of the price, but it's not loneliness. It's clarity. The clarity that the next level requires a different you. Not a better you, not someone else, but the you that was always buried under layers of doubt, fear, and conditioning. Walk like you've already become it. Not someday, not when others believe it, now, today, because the truth is simple. The moment you decide that you are that person, you already are. The world won't believe it until you do, but once you do, the world has no choice but to catch up. The relentless evolution mindset. There is a mindset that separates those who taste temporary success from those who become unstoppable forces of nature. It is not rooted in motivation. It has nothing to do with luck, talent, or even discipline alone. It's built on one fundamental belief, that the process of outgrowing yourself is never ending. That there is no arrival, no finish line, no point where you get to exhale, say, "I've made it," and step off the treadmill of evolution. Growth in its true form is infinite. This mindset demands something most people are unwilling to give: the complete rejection of settling. It's the rejection of comfort as a permanent home. It's the willingness to look at every version of yourself, even the one you're proud of now, and recognize that this too will need to be dismantled. The second you start coasting, you start sliding backward. The relentless evolution mindset is the antidote. It's the internal oath you take with yourself. Never settle, never stop. Kill the old you, build the next version, repeat until death. That's the game, and the game never ends. It is brutal, it is exhausting, it is at times lonely, because the truth is most people don't live like this. Most people cling desperately to the last version of themselves that brought them comfort or validation. They achieve something that once seemed impossible, and instead of asking what's next, they begin asking, how can I maintain this without discomfort? But maintenance is just slow decay, dressed in denial. This isn't about chasing goals for the sake of endless ambition.
It's deeper. It's about refusing to betray the future versions of yourself that only become real if you have the courage to burn the current one. It's about knowing that every identity, every pattern, every habit you hold on to too tightly eventually becomes a limitation, no matter how noble or useful it once was. The real warriors, the ones who seem untouchable, the ones who walk into rooms with a presence that can't be explained, are simply those who have buried more versions of themselves than most will ever dare to create. They have made peace with the constant cycle of death and rebirth, of killing the old self and rebuilding the next, not once, not twice, but over and over. It's just who they are. Every 6 months, they look back and cringe. Not because who they were was weak, but because it was limited. Because what once felt like a mountain is now a molehill. Because the problems that once seemed massive are now irrelevant. That's the byproduct of relentless evolution. Reality keeps expanding. What once looked like the ceiling becomes the floor. But this isn't a process that happens on accident. It requires conscious, violent intention. It requires stepping into discomfort as a lifestyle, not as a phase. It demands that you never mistake a plateau for permanence. That you treat every comfort zone not as a home, but as a waiting room for the next battle. You learn to stop clinging. You stop making identities out of temporary versions of yourself. You stop saying things like, "This is just who I am," because you know that statement is the beginning of decay. You start asking better questions. Who is the next version of me? What skills does that person have? What does that person tolerate? How does that person think? How does that person move? You live inside those questions until the answers become who you are, and then you ask them again. This process is not clean, it's chaotic. Growth isn't linear, it's painful, messy. It's letting go of relationships that don't fit the next version of you. It's abandoning habits that once brought you comfort. It's waking up one day and realizing that even though you're proud of what you've done, you are disgusted by the idea of staying here one moment longer. People won't understand. They'll call you obsessed. They'll say you're never satisfied, that you should slow down, take a break, just enjoy life. But what they don't understand is that this is enjoying life. The hunt, the chase, the endless pursuit of becoming, the refusal to sit still, the absolute rage against stagnation. Because here's the truth no one wants to admit. The pain of growth is temporary. The pain of regret is permanent. The discomfort of shedding old identities lasts a moment. But the suffocating weight of knowing you could have been more and chose not to, that lasts forever. So you choose the discomfort. You choose the fire. You choose to burn it down. Not because the current you is broken, but because the future demands more. And every time you do, you get sharper, more disciplined, more aware, more dangerous. The relentless evolution mindset isn't something you visit, it's where you live. It's the standard, the code, the quiet, unbreakable promise you make to yourself that no matter how far you've come, there's always another level, another mountain, another version waiting to be built, and you will build it. Not someday, not when it's convenient, but now, always now. Because the oath is clear. Never settle, never stop. Kill the old you, build the next version, repeat until death. The old you has served its purpose, but it has no place in the future you're building. Growth isn't something you visit, it's a decision you live with daily. Outgrowing the past isn't a one-time event. It's a relentless commitment to becoming more, doing more, and refusing to settle. Burn the fallback plans, kill the excuses, step fully into the identity of who you're meant to be. The choice is simple. Evolve or stay trapped. Your future is waiting. The relentless evolution mindset. Become, don't wait. Let's not sugarcoat this. Becoming a new version of yourself isn't comfortable. It's not neat, it's not easy, and it's not something that happens by accident. Your mind, it will rebel. Your past? It will scream for recognition. Every insecure version of you, the one that failed, the one that played small, the one that broke promises to themselves, will claw to stay relevant. They will flood you with doubts, whisper lies like, "Who do you think you are? You're not ready yet. Don't act like you've made it." But let's be honest, those voices aren't real. They're echoes of the identity you've already outgrown. That's the moment of truth, the fork in the road. Either you listen to the noise and sink back into familiarity, or you lean in, not with fear, but with intention. You double down on becoming, not pretending, not posturing, becoming. You begin to walk differently. You enter a room like you belong there, not with arrogance, but with unshakable certainty. Your body carries purpose. Your voice carries clarity. You don't mumble. You don't apologize for your goals. You don't soften your ambition to make others feel safe. You own it. You stop over-explaining. You stop seeking permission. You stop asking, "Can I?" and start asking, "How will I?" Every action becomes a vote for your future identity. Every decision, a statement. Every conversation becomes less about explaining who you are and more about revealing who you're becoming. And then something shifts. You begin to think in solutions, not problems. You stop operating from fear and start operating from vision. You stop looking backward and start walking like you've already arrived, because internally you have.
This isn't fake it till you make it. It's align until it's real. You're not acting like someone else. You're stepping into the most authentic, empowered version of yourself. The version that your doubts have kept locked away. The version that doesn't need external validation to move. The version that no longer waits for proof, but creates it. And people notice. Even if they can't explain it, they feel it. The shift in your presence. The way your energy speaks before you open your mouth. You're no longer sending out the frequency of someone hoping, wishing, hesitating. You're transmitting certainty. And certainty is magnetic, not because it's magic, but because it's rare. Opportunities, partnerships, respect, they all begin flowing toward you. Why? Because people trust those who walk like they're ready, and they avoid those who are still waiting for signs. That's why most people stay stuck. They wait for permission. They wait to feel ready. They wait for fear to disappear. They wait for someone to tell them, "You can go now." But the ones who grow, the ones who break cycles and redefine themselves, they don't wait. They decide. They embody. They move first, and the world catches up later. And when you make that decision, everything changes. You no longer tolerate what doesn't match your vision. You start setting boundaries, not out of defensiveness, but out of clarity. Your mornings shift, your priorities shift. You stop giving your energy to chaos, distractions, people-pleasing, and doubt. Because the future you doesn't have time for that. Even your language transforms. You stop saying, "I'll try," and start saying, "I will." You replace "I hope" with "it's happening." Not as wishful thinking, but as a conscious instruction to your subconscious mind. Your words become weapons, not for others, for the war between who you were and who you're becoming. And then momentum kicks in. It gets easier, not because the path changes, but because you've changed. Hard things feel lighter because your identity is no longer in conflict. You're no longer dragging self-doubt along for the ride. Your actions begin catching up to your inner belief, and the results show up faster than they ever have before. Suddenly, you're no longer surprised by your success. You're not an outsider looking into the life you want. You're living it. You're living it. You walk like someone who understands that success isn't special. It's the natural consequence of being aligned. But here's the thing. People from your past, they might not recognize you anymore. They may say, "You've changed." And they're right. You're no longer available for shallow conversations. No longer entertaining mediocrity.
no longer tolerating environments that disrespect your future. The solitude that follows this kind of shift is real. You may outgrow friendships, you may lose some approval, but what you gain in clarity, power, and purpose makes the price worth it. This isn't just transformation. This is rebirth. This is relentless evolution, and it doesn't stop. Because once you understand this mindset, once you accept that you are never finished, you realize that growth has no ceiling. The job, the income, the fitness goal, the dream relationship, those aren't destinations. They're milestones. And every time you reach one, you start again. Not because you're not satisfied, but because your soul demands more. You stop coasting. You stop fantasizing about one day. You stop imagining a finish line. Because in truth, there is no finish line. There's only a question. Who is the next version of me? And once you get that answer, you go build it. Not someday, not when conditions are perfect. Now, always now. Because that's the code. Fire, never settle. Fire, never stop. Fire, kill the old you. Fire, build the next version. Fire, repeat until death. Not because the current you is broken, but because the future demands more. And the world? It has no choice but to catch up once you've decided that you're already there. Fire, the relentless evolution mindset. Become, don't wait. Let's not sugarcoat this. Becoming a new version of yourself isn't comfortable. It's not neat, it's not easy, and it's not something that happens by accident. Your mind, it will rebel. Your past, it will scream for recognition. Every insecure version of you, the one that failed, the one that played small, the one that broke promises to themselves, will claw to stay relevant. They will flood you with doubts, whisper lies like, "Who do you think you are? You're not ready yet. Don't act like you've made it." But let's be honest, those voices aren't real. They're echoes. Echoes of the identity you've already outgrown. That's the moment of truth, the fork in the road. Either you listen to the noise and sink back into familiarity, or you lean in, not with fear, but with intention. You double down on becoming. Not pretending, not posturing, becoming. You begin to walk differently. You enter a room like you belong there, not with arrogance, but with unshakable certainty. Your body carries purpose. Your voice carries clarity. You don't mumble. You don't apologize for your goals. You don't soften your ambition to make others feel safe. You own it. You stop over-explaining. You stop seeking permission. You stop asking, "Can I?" and start asking, "How will I?" Every action becomes a vote for your future identity. Every decision, a statement. Every conversation becomes less about explaining who you are and more about revealing who you're becoming. And then something shifts. You begin to think in solutions, not problems. You stop operating from fear and start operating from vision. You stop looking backward and start walking like you've already arrived. Because internally, you have. This isn't fake it till you make it. It's align until it's real. You're not acting like someone else. You're stepping into the most authentic, empowered version of yourself. The version that your doubts have kept locked away. The version that doesn't need external validation to move. The version that no longer waits for proof, but creates it. And people notice. Even if they can't explain it, they feel it. The shift in your presence. The way your energy speaks before you open your mouth. You're no longer sending out the frequency of someone hoping, wishing, hesitating. You're transmitting certainty. And certainty is magnetic, not because it's magic, but because it's rare. Opportunities, partnerships, respect, they all begin flowing toward you. Why? Because people trust those who walk like they're ready. And they avoid those who are still waiting for signs. That's why most people stay stuck. They wait for permission. They wait to feel ready. They wait for fear to disappear. They wait for someone to tell them, you can go now. But the ones who grow, the ones who break cycles and redefine themselves, they don't wait. They decide. They embody. They move first, and the world catches up later. And when you make that decision, everything changes. You no longer tolerate what doesn't match your vision. You start setting boundaries, not out of defensiveness, but out of clarity. Your mornings shift, your priorities shift. You stop giving your energy to chaos, distractions, people-pleasing, and doubt, because the future you doesn't have time for that. Even your language transforms. You stop saying, I'll try, and start saying, I will. You replace I hope with it's happening, not as wishful thinking, but as a conscious instruction to your subconscious mind. Your words become weapons, not for others, for the war between who you were and who you're becoming. And then momentum kicks in. It gets easier, not because the path changes, but because you've changed. Hard things feel lighter because your identity is no longer in conflict. You're no longer dragging self-doubt along for the ride. Your actions begin catching up to your inner belief, and the results show up faster than they ever have before. Suddenly, you're no longer surprised by your success. You're not an outsider looking into the life you want. You're living it. You walk like someone who understands that success isn't special. It's the natural consequence of being aligned. But here's the thing. People from your past, they might not recognize you anymore. They may say, you've changed, and they're right. You're no longer available for shallow conversations, no longer entertaining mediocrity, no longer tolerating environments that disrespect your future. The solitude that follows this kind of shift is real. You may outgrow friendships, you may lose some approval, but what you gain in clarity, power, and purpose makes the price worth it. This isn't just transformation. This is rebirth. This is relentless evolution, and it doesn't stop. Because once you understand this mindset, once you accept that you are never finished, you realize that growth has no ceiling. The job, the income, the fitness goal, the dream relationship, those are destinations. They're milestones. And every time you reach one, you start again. Not because you're not satisfied, but because your soul demands